Speaking of people who need to get it and understand it, let's talk about this heifer. Let's talk about Snoop Dogg. So apparently, you already know Snoop Dogg came out, made some comments on a podcast where he basically said his grandson, he went to take him to see Lightyear, and he was like, Papa Snoop, how does she have a baby with a woman? She's a woman. And he was like, oh, ish, I didn't come for this ish. I came here to watch a goddamn movie. So here's the thing. I'm wondering, what you saying this on that podcast, was you cussing in front of that little boy? So it's okay for you to cuss and use all kinds of disgusting language. But a child asks you how two women are able to have a baby. That's a problem for you. This is the same man that walked two broads on leashes on a red carpet. This is the same man that has said ain't no fun if the homies can't have none. This is the same man that said bitches ain't ish but hoes and tricks. So you could say all of that. You can promote misogyny. You can promote same-sex stuff as long as it's lipstick lesbians and it fulfills your misogynistic fantasy that you think that you're going to be able to stick your dick in those broads. Whereas these women are into each other. They're not into you. Fishy lipstick lesbians, that means they're into each other. There's no chance of you slipping anything in anywhere. So, but of course, because it fulfills some sort of fantasy that y'all get to beat y'all meat to with the little videos that y'all be watching. Because this is how y'all learn about sex. You didn't learn it by, excuse me, sex ed classes or whatever the case is. A lot of you people learn sex by watching adult cinematography. And this is what y'all pass it down to your children. Now, you got to also realize you can't shelter kids forever. You can raise your kids however the hell you want to raise them, but you need to realize you ain't gonna be able to shelter them forever. If you telling them something that they feel that there's some sort of a shame or whatever the case is, they sense that. They're gonna seek the information elsewhere. So you would think that you would mature yourself enough to be able to speak out on something that makes you uncomfortable, and you ain't even got to root it in sex. The baby's adopted, or you could have said something that one of the mothers had the kid, met this other girl, she came into the relationship, and they became a couple, but the kid was already there. Or you could just kept it simple, adoption. Keep them okay, kept it moving. The minute you start to give energy to something to make it seem like it's a negative, they sense that, and it passes on. Homophobia, racism, any kind of ism or hatred towards a demographic that you are not comfortable around, that's taught. That's not something that all kids are raised with. And then you got to think about something that comes in where you have queer people who, because they were raised in the church, they were taught a certain way about certain things. Oh, you going to hell because the indoctrination, the abomination, blah, 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 all that mess. So there's a deep rooted shame with those children. Why they hide their sexuality? They out here carrying, doing, or getting all kinds of things with the wrong crowd, and a beat up, probably unalived, or whatever the case is. They, getting caught up in situations that you could have been protecting them with by giving them the right information. Nobody's saying you had to go into a whole spiel of teaching about the birds and the bees. That comes at a certain point when you feel, they get a little older. Now, for this situation, you could just, like I said, they was adopted. And I understand the uncomfortable, but when you said they putting that ish everywhere, to me, I'm about to clock you because first of all, homosexuality is not in everything. Now, if you want to talk about sex is in everything, it is. Especially when we talk about Disney movies, Disney animated films and things of that nature. There's sex all throughout there. When you watch The Lion King, did you have to explain where Nala and Simba's kid came from? Because weren't they relatively young when they got together? Until we get to the end, and they were still relatively young when they became adults, but still, there was sex about that. There's sex and there's sexual things in Sleeping Beauty, Little Mermaid, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Sleeping Beauty. There's sexual things throughout all of those things. But this is the litmus because it's literally blatant two same-sex couples, or a same I say a same-sex couple, two of this two genders coming together. That's because when it's blatantly there, then it's the problem because it's in your face. Because there's no metaphor. It's not swept. It's no little. It's not subtle. But queer people exist, and you want to teach your child that because when they go out in the real world, and they surprised that they see a gay person or a gay couple. That was like yesterday. And I had never seen like real out there queer people. I think it was like sort of non-binary or trans couple that I saw when I was on the bus coming home. And this is like in going towards like was like Hillside or whatever. Walking down the street, one had purple hair and everything. They holding hands. I'm looking at this other person. I'm like, I think they trans because I'm seeing boobs and things in the top. So little children and child, y'all probably gonna get mad at me. I don't give a fuck. This little nappy-headed ass Haitian child get off the bus with her mother and her little sister. I said, y'all out here doing y'all child's hair still in 2025, looking like something straight out of Roots. Not even doing their hair, making them look, or whatever the case is. And you got the nerve to laugh at these queer people. But it's like, bitch, do you own a mirror? Did you look at yourself in the mirror and see how messed up and fucked up y'all look? But you out here trying to read these kids, these people for being themselves. Guaranteed, when you get old enough, them kids will be making fun of you. You're gonna be running a comb through that fucking head. But you want to sit up here and read these children over how they looking. Like I said, I don't give a fuck. Because if you're gonna sit up in here and try to throw homophobic things at people, especially when you of the black community, I'm reading your ass too. And to me, it's like how you sit there making fun of people when you ain't no prize package your goddamn self. So unless you spinning gold about your shooting gold about your ass, then you should be out here. Well, quite as kept to be honest, even if you wealthy, you shouldn't be trying to read nobody. Because that's what Donald Trump doing. He got all his money and stuff trying to read people. And it's like, sir, do you own a mirror? We look like you melting in real time. So with all of that being said, because I didn't even get to the story yet, I just went on a whole with him going in and being mad over the whole, he talking about he didn't have an answer for it. It threw him for a loop. But if you think this is bad, that curious grandchild of yours comes across your back catalog of music when you got to explain to them all them things you said in your video. I mean, in your songs, all them things you had in your music videos. When you have to explain all of that, how you going? Oh shit! I ain't come here for all that. It threw me for a loop. I want you to have that same energy, sir. So, in response to his comments, Lauren Gunderson, who worked on the Lightyear movie, she's a screenwriter. She took the threads to defend the child-friendly queer content. She said, and I have the post here, and I'm mad because it had comments, but I think they disabled them. And when the thing was up there, it had comments and everything, and a lot of it was relatively positive. So I guess maybe some people threw some negative stuff in there and they wound up disabling it. But I wanted to read to y'all some of the comments because I thought it was pretty good. She said, so I created the Lightyear Lesbians. In 2018, I was a writer at Pixar, such a cool place, grateful to work there. Learn a ton from kind and impressive creatives. As we wrote early versions of what became Lightyear, a key character needed a partner, and it was so natural to write she instead of he. As small as that detail is in the film, I knew the representational effect it would have. Small line, big deal. I was elated that they kept it. I'm proud of it. To infinity, love is love, and that's what we need to be teaching our kids. At the end of the day, love is love, and um all we want is representation. All we want is to be seen. That's all queer people want is to be seen. Now, if a sex scene so happens to be in a film, yeah, it's going to be an adult movie. We're not talking about you're going to be literally seeing two animated, females going down on each other, or you're not going to see another male super. You're not going to see Prince Charming rimming another dude. Nobody said that all that was gonna be up in here, but of course, y'all gotta make everything about sex. Y'all always gotta take it there. I get that sex is in the word homosexual, but we ain't all about sex. Yeah, we fuck. Yeah, we get down when we need to. But we ain't all just out here hunching 24/7. First of all, we was doing all that. How I getting any work done? How would I be able to give you this damn show? How would I be able to do all the things that I need to do if I was out here fucking all damn day? It's impossible. So just like y'all be out here hunching and doing all the things, we do it too. We don't throw it in y'all face. And me growing up as a homosexual, we've been embargoed and had straight things shoved down our throats, especially growing up. Not saying my father did this because he didn't, but I've heard many of stories where you talk about kids whose fathers forced them into sports, made them do things that they didn't want to do because they ain't want no sissy and punk coming up in their house. I ain't raising no faggots, all that other stuff they be saying. So they put their sons in things so that way they turn out to be straight. Or you get the bussy situation where, oh, I don't want no F words up in my house. So you have grown ass women having sex with your underage son and his nephew so that way you could break him in. Now, where's CBS for that? Where's Child Protective Services? Because you should not be having no child. But of course, that's okay. It's okay for little boys to be sexually molested and abused and things of that nature. But a little girl doing it, we put all this extra pressure on girls in our society. So I'm glad that she spoke out. Hope that we get to a point where it is the norm. And then it doesn't have to be this thing that makes people feel weird or whatever the case is. We already know, like, there's no helping a lot of the black community because y'all are so deeply rooted in homophobia and all that other stuff. I don't know what we can do to change the narrative or whatever the case is. You feel how you feel. People gonna live their life. Gays are always gonna be around. Trans people always gonna be around. Lesbians always gonna be around. The LGBTQ community, all the spectrums of the rainbow is gonna be around, whether you like it or not. And this also drives another question. When we talk about interracial relationships, I'm not talking about the hoteps, the ones that want to go out and or would they even be considered homoteps? No, they the ones that complain about the interracial relationships. But I think a lot of y'all need to understand the reason why a lot of these black people get into relationships. I'm not talking about the ones that jump in a relationship because they want that close proximity to whiteness. I'm talking about the ones that get in relationships with interracial relationships because it is the only community that embraces them for being effeminate, from not being a stereotype of drugs, gang banging, you know, doing all the stereotypes that have been plagued on our community by white supremacists and white conglomerates. Especially when you're looking at hip hop and what it was built on, like not all of it, but when it came to that whole gangster rap situation, popping bottles and all that other mess that was going on with that, which he was a part of. He was the whole part of gangster rap era. So you can make millions of dollars perpetuating black stereotypes, but showing people in love, that's the line that we're gonna draw. Okay, got it, sir. And then there was a story that came out that said he apologized, that it was like, my bad, teach me how to be better. First of all, you too damn old to even be at this point. Number two, word on the curb was that whole thing about him, even with it being on his IG, that whole statement, they said it was a lie. He never came out and apologized, so I guess he's still standing 10 toes down, and that's fine. Some people said that they canceled Snoop Dogg the minute they saw that he performed for Donald Trump, and during his second situation. So they was done with him. And we know where you stand, sir. You like being in that close proximity of white supremacy, not even whiteness, but just the white supremacy, because you made millions of dollars off the backs of perpetuating some of the worst stereotypes regarding black people. And now you're promoting homophobia. And then you go and make money performing for Trump. No one full on, well, he's a racist. He don't care about black. So at the end of the day, the bottom line is money. That's all you care about. Getting your bag. All bags ain't a good bag. Or as we like to say, all money ain't good money. So yeah, we need to talk about the whole idea of queer black men dating outside their race. Because, when your own community tells you you're going to hell and they shun you for your femininity, Of course, they're gonna gravitate towards a community that will embrace them for who they are. I think that's also why blurs get with white people too. Because when y'all telling nerds that y'all corny, when y'all you ain't got no swag, whatever the fuck that means. I march to the beat of my own goddamn drum. So fuck you and your swag or whatever you feel like is the definition of that. But I do think that's why a lot of black, blurs, black nerds, they go towards white people and things as well. Or they find like-minded people that are in that whole situation. It's because they get clowned by their own people for being different. So Snoop is a lost cause. Snoop is trash. Quiet as it's kept, I was never really into Snoop like that. Like I tolerated, like we had some good bops. I tolerated him for the most part, but I was never like a really big fan. Y'all already know. Like first of all, I'm East Coast all the way, so I was always Biggie. Notorious B.I.G. was always like one of my all-time favorite rappers. And, I've always been about the East Coast rap and stuff. There's some good West Coast stuff, but I was never into y'all like that because, of course, I came up in the era of East Coast rap till I die. So damn Wu Tang, Redman, Method Man, that sort of thing. So I definitely want to hear from y'all. I know this was a long one, but it's like when you breaking down a lot of the stuff that's going on in this story, it's something we need to talk about. Um, I forgot to bring up. You know what? There was a whole bunch of stuff that I mentioned. I forgot to mention also because remember they brought up in the Quiet on Set documentary when I grew up watching Nickelodeon. There was sexual undertones and stuff up that was in there as well. We didn't realize it then because we was young and naive. But you had grown people writing and working on these shows that were putting these actors in situations that they shouldn't have been put in. But we ain't know better. The parents was probably didn't know better either because they're trusting that these adults know what they're doing and try to help their kids get their kids are famous and stuff. You don't want to rock the boat. Oh yeah, that was a long thing that I had written. I was like, damn, I should have read it. Maybe I will, and then we can wrap it up. But I was like, I know homophobic black people despises comparison. You can only get over it. But queer rights and civil rights go hand in hand. Lest we forget that there were queer people, including activist and labor union organizer Bayard Rustin, who marched alongside, I should say, Martin Luther King. Rustin even worked on MLK's campaigns, and he went from being just a measly minister to a civil rights leader. So the fact that we have a rapper who has made millions off of promoting the worst aspects of black culture, drugs, guns, and pimping, has a hard time explaining why Timmy has two mommies. Will it be hard for you to explain to your grandson why Shaquanda has 8 kids with 4 different men? Will it be hard to explain why some single black women are out here fighting to get child support from their raggedy kids because their absentee daddy hates their mother? We also haven't forgotten that you had promoted sex acts between women in the past, walked women on leashes, and appeared on an episode of The L Word. So while you continue to be uncomfortable having to explain to your child about them living in a world where people are different than them, all that does is make them even more curious to seek out the information you're afraid to provide them with. No one said you had to tell them how 2 women do the clam shuffle. Yeah, I did write that. Just say the child was adopted and leave it at that. Everything regarding homosexuality is rooted in sex. The sooner ignorant people learn that there's no gay agenda and that queer people just want to live their lives and also be seen in a positive light, the better off we'll be. Representation matters and love is love. So yeah, that's all I gotta say on that. I was like, damn, I forgot because I went on the whole thing. I forgot to read like with my little opinion piece that I wrote with this article, but y'all got the gist of all of it. But yeah, so I definitely want to hear from y'all, good or bad, respectfully though. Don't be up in these comments trying to be extra nasty because your ass will get blocked. So I definitely want to hear from y'all, a respectful conversation in regards to this. I felt like I hope I hit all the notes and everything in regards of what I need to say on this, and people gonna be setting their ways, and that's fine. But let me know what you guys think of this story in the comments down below. Okay, exactly. A Trump follower. I guess you can't be different in the black community at all. Rather be a monolith because they have that white mindset. Yeah, and also it comes from a place of black people have been ostracized by white folks for so long That it's like when there's a point that we can move away from us getting picked on, we gonna go into the thing and pick on the other because at least, you know, they foot us off our neck. And that's why I liked what Marlon Wayans said. Damn, I should have brought that in the damn story. So he said, I'm tired of defending this N word. I defended him on his criminal itch, the Gayle King situation, and I took heat for defending him online when he performed for Trump. But this crosses the line. Sooner or later, you just realize someone has issues. There ain't no Hollywood agenda to turn kids gay. That's the dumbest ish I ever heard. Disney characters lie, steal, cheat, kill, poison, and everything, and don't nobody say it's an agenda to turn their kids into a POS, every piece of ish. I wanted Snow White. I mean, I watched Snow White even when I was a kid, and I ain't give a bitch a poison apple yet. I can't go to that part. But as soon as a gay character pops up, it's an agenda. The agenda is to make your kids empathetic, not gay. White people acted the same way when black people started seeing when black people started being seen on TV. And that's true. I know people hate the comparison, but why not? Discrimination is discrimination. Discrimination doesn't know sexual orientation. It doesn't know race. It doesn't know age. It doesn't know all the other stuff, but y'all do it. So yeah, um, there, all those characters that exist. What you talking about the ones that lie, steal, and cheat and stuff? No, probably not, because there wasn't that many black folks. And look, even back in the day, Disney was putting out these little racist cartoons and stuff, which they regretted. And now, if you go on Disney Plus, any of these places, you can't find no footage of them racist cartoons. But with the times they evolved, and people, people need to evolve in a lot of y'all bigotry and ignorance.